Hello, my name is Jean Millette, and I'm a member of InterSystems AppServices team. Welcome to my presentation, Drinking Our Own Champagne, moving from Zen Reports to InterSystems Reports. Today, I'll be presenting how our team uses InterSystems Reports in our applications. We had been using Zen Reports, another InterSystems product, for our applications reporting features, but as the company has moved away from Zen Reports to the more powerful InterSystems Reports, so have we. That's me there 11 years ago. Here's the plan for today's presentation. After a little background about the AppServices team and how we work, I'll highlight some of what's the same and what's different between the Zen Reports package and the InterSystems Reports package. I'll then talk about how we use reports in our applications, using examples from one of our applications, CCR, our change control system. Making the transition from one reporting package to the other presented some challenges. I'll highlight those and show how our team addressed these challenges. If you're currently using Zen Reports, I hope you'll pick up some ideas for migrating to InterSystems Reports. If you'd like to introduce reporting capabilities into your applications, I hope this presentation will encourage you to try InterSystems Reports. But first, a little background information about our team and how we came up with the title of this presentation. The AppServices team is responsible for developing and maintaining systems our company uses in-house. Some of them, like CCR, our change control system, have also proven useful to some of our customers, so it's available to them as well. Because our team maintains multiple applications, we need a reliable process for tracking changes to these applications so we know what was changed, why, and when. We also maintain multiple environments for each application. These environments support our reliable, repeatable process for deploying changes, making sure that no changes go to live until they've been properly tested. We use the CCR application, which we develop and maintain, to do this for our applications, for all our applications. This is an example of what we used to call eating our own dog food. Our applications have improved greatly over the years, so we now prefer calling this practice drinking our own champagne. This phrase also describes how our team has historically had the role of shaking out newly released InterSystems technology. This other champagne includes InterSystems technology that the AppServices team has test-driven over the past 12 years. Packages like the Java binding, the CSP REST package, the Zen application framework, and Zen Reports. Our experiences with these technologies have helped us help others as they started adopting them as well. Just a note to avoid potential confusion, I'll talk a lot about how we've used our change controls process to enable the smooth integration of InterSystems Reports into our applications. Please note that not only is CCR the tool we use for our change control process, it's also the first application into which we fully integrated InterSystems Reports. So the examples I'll be presenting are from the CCR application. So let's get to the meat of the presentation, beginning with a comparison of Zen Reports and InterSystems Reports. Here are some ways they are the same. Both systems define what reports look like, what columns appear on the report, how is the data grouped, what fonts are used. Both also identify where a report gets its data and what data to get. What is the source of the data? What query should be used to get the data? Both packages support parameterized reports. Parameters are used to define time ranges of reports or what column should be used as a filter. Parameters also determine the output format of the report. Both technologies persist the definitions of the reports as files to disk. A Zen report is an object script class that can be persisted as an ASCII file. InterSystems Reports persists one file for each report, along with other shared information in a special catalog file. By looking at the next two slides, one can see how both systems produce similar-looking reports. Both reports come from the CCR application. They each show the active change control records for a particular organization. We create CCR records as we plan, implement, and deploy sets of changes in an application. This view shows 6 such records for changes to the ad hoc application, with 1 set of changes in live, 2 in base, or the development phase, and 3 in the prep or planning phase. This version of the report uses the PreMigration Zen Report-based system. Note that the same data is shown in roughly the same page layout. It shows the same 6 CCR records for the ad hoc application, separated by phase. By looking at the next 2 slides, one can see how reports are designed and delivered by default using the 2 packages, the older Zen Reports package and the default installation of the InterSystems Reports. This is a simple view of how the AppServices team had been developing and deploying Zen Reports. The report designer on the top right represents an ObjectScript developer who learned the ins and outs of Zen Reports and coded up a report using Studio or VS Code. Once satisfied, the developer checks it in using our change control system and uses that system and our development processes to push the Zen report forward until it's available for the report viewers in the live system. We coded, tested, and deployed these Zen reports as we did for any other ObjectScript code in the application. This diagram shows how report design and development is done out of the box using the default installation of the InterSystems Reports package. In this example, the package was installed and hooked up to an application database whose data will be used in the reports. This would be the same database that Zen Report will use to produce its reports. An administrator configures the database connection and defines where reports will live on the InterSystems Reports server. In this default configuration, the administrator also defines accounts for users that are the report viewers. Continuing with the example, the report designer uses the InterSystems Reports Designer app to create a report and test a report. Once we're created and saved to the deployment area, the reports are available for the report viewers. This default configuration with users viewing reports directly from the InterSystems Reports server can work for some applications. However, for a better user experience and for better security and maintenance, the AppServices team decided to more deeply integrate InterSystems Reports into its applications. In order to get there, we had to address a few key challenges, one of which came about because of one key difference between the 2 reporting systems. The key difference? Unlike other parts of our applications, InterSystems Reports files created by the designer are not native ObjectScript code. In the out-of-the-box configuration, the report designer creates already compiled InterSystems Reports binary files that are ready to be served by the report server. Our change control system, CCR, was set up for tracking changes to ASCII files like the XML representations of ObjectScript classes and routines and CSV files and JavaScript files, etc. Our change control system is also responsible for building and deploying these files to the environments where they'll run. We therefore needed to adapt our change control system to handle these InterSystems Reports artifacts. This was our biggest challenge, the change management and deployment of these new files that CCR and our build processes hadn't handled before. Another challenge arising from our move to InterSystems Reports was controlling what data a user could see on the report. Also, InterSystems Reports provides a type of report with features that weren't available with Zen Reports. We needed to control which features of that report were available to users. An easier and more fun challenge was doing the actual migration of the data and display definitions needed to have the InterSystems Reports display the same data as the associated Zen report. Let's look at each challenge and how we addressed it. For the InterSystems Reports designer artifacts, we want to treat them like any other code we use to build our applications. Fortunately, InterSystems Reports gives us the option of saving the design reports as ASCII XML files, so tracking changes to these files is possible. This is critical so we know when things were changed and why. We also needed a way to convert these reports to their binary format and deploy them so the InterSystems Report server can serve them when requested. Fortunately, our current change control system, CCR, already provides the hooks we need to address both challenges. Furthermore, our team also uses well-defined installation scripts that make environments ready for our applications. As mentioned, we maintain multiple apps on multiple environments, and these application-specific scripts lets us bring up environments as we need. For applications that will use InterSystems Reports, we change the scripts to do two things: set up the database for InterSystems Report server configuration, and set up the environment to support deployment of InterSystems Reports from change control. There are many ways to set up the database used for server configuration, but we wanted to standardize the roles, resources, namespaces, etc., used over all the applications that we use InterSystems Reports. Please note that this database is not the application database. This one is used by the InterSystems Report server itself to maintain its own configuration information. The most critical change to our installation scripts was for setting up the environments to support deployment of reports. The key parts of the changes did the following: put the InterSystems Reports compiler, the engine, in the right place, set up the environment to find where the InterSystems Report files exist in the source control, compile the files, and deploy them to the right place in the runtime environment, and set it up not only for the initial creation or refresh of a runtime environment, but also set it up for deploying reports as they are changed later via our change control system. With the proper discipline of checking out the InterSystems Reports XML files from source control system, changing them and testing them with the InterSystems Reports Designer tool, and checking them back into source control, we have managed to not surprise any users with errors on the live systems. As previously mentioned, InterSystems Reports does provide report-level security, so some control as to who sees what can be done with the system right out of the box. There is a link to a document describing this at the end of the presentations. However, that level of security was not appropriate for applications. In particular, the reporting system in the application should only show data records for the organization to which the current user belongs. This is best done at the application level, not within the InterSystems Report security model. Much different than Zen Reports, the advanced or native format of InterSystems Reports presents the user with controls to change what's displayed on the report and save it back to the server. For CCR reports, we need to deactivate the controls that permit the user to persist the local changes back to the server. We want other users to see the reports as originally deployed, letting them change the display in their local browser without affecting how others see the report. So along with defining what data appears on the report and how it is presented, the Zen Reports version of CCR Reports leveraged object script code to implement application-level data security as follows. Check who the user is. Check for what organization's data the report is requested. Check a user org table in the application to confirm the user can look at that organization's data. We use this technique to ensure that users could only see data for their own organizations. We wanted to provide the same level of data security when migrating to InterSystems Reports for the CCR reports. So we introduced a new report CSV page that served as a reverse proxy in front of the InterSystems Reports server. Since this is a CSV page and is part of the application, we can write all this object script code we want to protect and augment the InterSystems Reports as much as we need. The CSV page contains the properties it needs to convert incoming parameters to a URL requesting the compiled report from the InterSystems Report server. These properties included the logical name of the report catalogs and the URL of the server. The CSV page also contains code to prevent persistence features we had talked about from being shown in the browser when the native format is requested. This is the report security I point out here. In order to get the same level of data security as the fully integrated Zen Reports version, the new CSP page uses a check authorization method called from on pre-HTTP to compare the user's organization with the organization provided in the page's URL parameter. If the user was authorized, the CSP page would build the InterSystems Reports URL and request a report from the InterSystems Reports server and serve it to the user's browser. In the pre-migration and the post-migration versions of our application reports, if the user was not authorized to view the particular organization's data, the user was redirected to the reports menu. This slide highlights the changes we made to integrate InterSystems Reports into our applications and our change control system. The green symbols represent those changes. The two green symbols on the right address the challenge of change control of InterSystems Reports artifacts. The Report CSP page addresses the security challenges. That page and the work done by the report designer address the challenge of migrating the report code from one system to another. The next few slides provides more detail of these changes. After setting up the development environments to support InterSystems Reports into an app, we can now describe the more fun challenge of migrating each of the CCR reports from Zen Reports to the InterSystems Reports. For this challenge, we want to, most of all, show the same data shown on the original Zen report. We also want to maintain, or even improve if we can, the style of the reports. We want the user to know how to access the new report as they did in the older versions with the same expected formats, HTML, PDF, etc. We want to make available any new features from InterSystems Reports that the user will find helpful. An example of such a feature is the advanced or native report we had talked about earlier. For the move to InterSystems Reports, we've set up an architecture that's similar to the Zen Reports version. We still have a reports menu page done in Angular, which lists the reports available in the CCR application. Each menu option has parameters for that report and a set of buttons to select the format of the report, HTML or PDF. Each button points to a URL of an application object script page that produces the report. In the pre-migration version, this link pointed to a Zen report. Post-migration, this link points to the new Reports CSP page we described previously. So the Reports CSP page replaces the Zen report in our architecture. That CSP page is the one we already highlighted to handle security issues. The code for all these CSP report pages will look very similar for an application with the same basic set of properties like the names of the folder and the catalog where the InterSystems Report serves its reports. Properties that differ among these pages include the name of the report. For example, the active CCRs list CSP file will have its report property set to active CCRs, which is the name of the InterSystems Reports on the server. Unlike Zen Reports, there's no data specification, no report formatting in these new CSP files. So where does that get defined for the migrated reports? In the InterSystems Reports artifact created in the InterSystems Reports designer. When we open the designer tool, we point to a catalog that provides connections to the application database. This enables us to know the tables, fields, and stored procedures available to the report builder. For our migration, the report designer, report designer, looked at the Zen Reports report definition section to see how it got its data. If the query pointed to a stored SQL procedure, the user can use the designer tool to find the same stored procedure. If the Zen report uses an SQL statement to define the data it used, the designer tool provides a way to build the same query. We use a similar process for migrating the styling of the report. For example, what columns are shown, how wide are they, what fonts are used. These are all specified in the report display section of Zen report file. The new report wizard and other WYSIWYG features of the designer tool lets us use the same styling information when helpful. We can easily make the reports a little nicer as well using the tool without having to specify styles in pseudo CSS code. So here's an example of using the Zen Reports data definition to determine what we should use to get data into the InterSystems Reports version of the report. We see us take advantage of an existing SQL stored procedure to bring in the required data into our migrated report. Look for the name in the Zen Reports file and then find it in the report designer when using the new report wizard. Here's an example of reusing an SQL query statement from the Zen report. There are some small differences in syntax for the report designer SQL, but these can be learned pretty quickly. It does point out that doing things through SQL stored procedures can make things a lot easier. Migrating style information is not as clean a one-on-one mapping as migrating data definitions, but looking at the Zen Reports display does help. We get information about what columns should be included in the report and what should appear in the column headers. We can also get an idea of the width and height of the report fields and any special fonts needed. The report design editor makes it easy to specify styles for all parts of the report. I've talked a lot about CCR and our reports migration process, and now we can see examples of our work. CCR is the first AppServices application fully migrated to InterSystems Reports. We did have another internal app for which we initiated the migration, but that application has since been retired. We did, however, learn a lot from that initial migration. CCR Reports currently has the following 3 reports, and we had Zen Reports versions for all of them. Active CCRs by organization, status report by organization. These provide CCR users with various views of what's going on with change control of applications in their particular organizations. With Zen Reports, we provided the following 2 formats, HTML and PDF. Zen Reports does enable other formats, but at the time we only needed those 2. So here we see part of CCR's report menu page, where users select the report and specify any parameters for the report. By pressing one of the buttons, the user gets the report in that format. The Zen Report page to which the buttons point clicked if the user is authorized to view the data based on the parameters selected. If not, the user will be returned to the menu page. Here's what the active CCR's report looked like in Zen Reports. It's fine, it's perfectly serviceable report showing the required information. Here's the same report built using the InterSystems Report Designer. It's an example of a banded report which comes out of the box ready to provide headers and group the output logically based on the data. InterSystems Reports also provides page navigation links that appear automatically when a report has multiple pages. You can see the next and last page links at the top. Here's the reports menu page post-migration. With the move to InterSystems Reports came the advanced, aka native format for reports. We'll show an example of this format shortly. We've also added the CSV button for another available format. Just like the pre-migration version, the report CSV page to which these buttons point check if the user is authorized to view the data based on the parameters selected. If not, user is returned to this menu page. Creating a CSV version of the banded reports as the users wanted posed a challenge. They wanted the information that appears in the band headers to appear in the rows of the CSV file. We therefore used the designer to create a new report with the same queries as the banded report, but with a set of columns so all data appears in each row. Here's the CSV file in Excel. Here's an example of the advanced format adapted for our application. As described in the earlier security discussion, we've only made certain features available to the user. One of these allowed features is the export function, which provides a way to download and save a particular format of the report for later use. There is an Excel format available, but the exported version will have the bands of the report as separate cells, which prevents taking full advantage of some Excel features like sorting, for example. This is why we developed the separate CSV format. Here are some other advanced features that we've made available to the CCR Report users. For example, there's a schedule feature enabling the user to schedule when a report is run with options for delivering it to the interested people. Note that the features we blocked are the ones that will persist changes to the server, affecting what others see when they view the same report. As I had mentioned, we only want report changes deployed from the development change process, which we've described earlier in the presentation. So here's what I hope were the key takeaways from today's presentation. InterSystems Reports is a powerful tool which can be set up to deliver reports from your application data without too much extra work. With a little more work, you can fully integrate InterSystems Reports artifacts into your applications, delivering the reports from your app. We can use real source control systems like Perforce or Git to manage the ASCII versions of the InterSystems Reports artifacts. The InterSystems Reports package provides an engine that can be used to compile these artifacts so that they're ready for delivery by the InterSystems Reports server. Also, there are various ways to make these reports secure. The AppServices team did at the application level. For next steps, I've listed pointers to resources that provide more information about change control and the InterSystems Reports package. There are links for alternative ways to do source control and for providing security to these reports. Note that some of the documentation links refer to Load Your Reports. This is the original name of the InterSystems Reports package. Currently, the code described here for the report CSV page and for the installation scripts are for internal use only. Please let us know if you'd like a copy, and we'll create a package and put it out on the community website. Please feel free to contact me or the product manager for analytics and AI, Carmen Logue, if you have any questions or comments about InterSystems Reports. Our email addresses are listed here, and we'll be happy to help as we can. Thank you for taking the time to attend the presentation, and I hope you find the information helpful. Cheers.